Welcome, my curious companions of the cosmos. Today we dive into one of the most abstract yet fascinating arguments for God existing, the argument from contingency. This argument has puzzled philosophers for centuries, but today we're going to figure out why this argument doesn't quite hold up to the standards that proponents say it does. And as always, if you enjoy philosophical deep dives, then don't forget to like and subscribe. With that said, let me take you back in time to when this argument originated. This argument didn't appear in the philosophy student's energy-fueled late-night essay. It has ancient distinguished roots. Aristotle's idea of unmoved mover contained the early ideas for this argument. Later, Thomas Aquinas adapted these ideas in his third way during the 13th century. In modern times, apologetics like William Lane Craig and Richard Swinburne have adapted these ideas to keep them relevant. Now, with that all out of the way, let's explore the argument. The argument from contingency goes something like this. Everything that exists is either contingent or necessary. Contingent things require an explanation for their existence. The universe is contingent. An infinite chain of contingent explanations is impossible. Therefore, there must be a necessary being, usually God. If you're still confused, let's address some common misconceptions. Misconception 1. Necessary equals logically necessary. Some people confuse different types of necessity. Just because something is metaphysically necessary doesn't mean it's logically necessary. The argument isn't claiming that God exists in all possible logical systems. Misconception 2. The argument proves a specific God. Even if we grant the argument is true, it doesn't lead us to one specific God. It could be any God. Misconception 3. Science has disproven contingency. Some argue that quantum mechanics with seemingly uncaused events undermines contingency, but quantum events still follow probabilistic laws. They're still contingent, just in a different way. Okay, now let's move on to the debunking. Problem 1. The necessary universe. Who says the universe itself isn't necessary? Maybe the fundamental laws of physics themselves are necessary beings. Proponents of this argument need to actually prove that the universe is contingent, not just assert it. But how do we know that the universe could have been different if we only have one to observe? Just because we can imagine different universes doesn't mean they're actually possible. Problem 2. The fallacy of composition. Just because every part of the universe is contingent doesn't mean the universe itself is actually contingent. Because that's like saying every brick on the wall individually is light, therefore the whole wall is light. The properties of parts don't transfer to the whole. Maybe individual things within the universe are contingent, but not the universe itself. Problem 3. The brute fact alternative. Perhaps the existence of a contingent reality is just a brute fact with no further explanation needed. We tend to assume that everything has an explanation, but what justifies that? The principle of sufficient reasoning might not extend to everything. Problem 3. The special pleading fallacy. The argument claims that everything needs an explanation, except God, but why make that exception? If God can exist without explanation because God is necessary, why can't we apply that same logic to the universe? The argument seems to create a special exemption exactly when most convenient. So where does that leave the argument from contingency? While it raises profound questions about existence, it ultimately fails to prove God's existence. Anyway, as always my companions, stay curious, stay critical, and never stop questioning. Goodbye.